I hop on the train. I think it was the red line, I'm pretty sure. I just didn't know what was going on. They were just starting to argue in front of me and then just yelling at each other. And I was just like, oh my goodness, what did I get myself into? Hello everyone, welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. My name is Tori and in today's video I have another one of my straight yapping, but this time I actually have some wine. My glass is a little dirty. Ooh, that's damn near half the bottle. I wanted to be able to go to sleep because I actually want to get up and start doing stuff tomorrow. It is 12:18. You guys know how I like to record late at night, but I haven't been sleeping at a good time, as in a time enough to actually wake up early and do all the things that I want to do, because I've been wanting to just start my days so much earlier, maybe like 9, 10. I also have allergies, so 30 minutes I'm going to be popping one of these. I've been trying to sleep early for so long. It's one of my biggest things. I hate sleeping early. I just love the nighttime. I love having my own thing to myself. So that's why I love just being up super late. So a lot of the time I'll usually sleep at 4. And since it was daylight savings time on Sunday, I've really been struggling with actually going to sleep at a decent time. Before Monday happened, I went to sleep at 4 when I told myself I was going to sleep at 2. But anyways, let me take a sip. This is the California Roots blend, specifically from Target, but let's take a sip. Now that's red. I used to not be a red wine drinker. Also, sorry, we'll skip this part in a little bit. I used to not be a red wine drinker. I guess I grew up and I started liking it. My first one was the Josh Cab. Maybe? I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know what my wine knowledge is. I've been waking up at 11, 12, actually getting out of bed at maybe 12, 1, and starting my days like that. And I do not want to do that. I'm only in Chicago for what, a month? Why am I wasting my time in bed? I know I am up at night until 4 a.m. But why am I not taking the time in the morning? Because I've been going on these walks around the river. There's a river walk that I think it's like a mile and a quarter. So I go to the apartment gym or whatever. I need to do some form of cardio because if you guys didn't know, I'm on my health journey of cutting, just wanting to lose some fat, not want to lose weight, but mostly just recomp, as in turning all the fat that I have into muscle and just shedding off fat. That's my main goal. For the majority part, just eating clean. Obviously the weekends, my friend Daniel visited. I have friends visiting for St. Patrick's Day. And even before that, because I started January 18th and it is currently March 12th. And I've already noticed a difference in my body in just this, 2 months? Is it 2 months? Almost 2 months alone. I really think also just because this is the first time where I've really prioritized clean eating. I feel like before it was just protein. That's what I wanted, even if it was super uber processed. I definitely eat processed food now. Like I said, it's at 80-20, but I'm trying to prioritize just whole foods, and I feel like I've noticed such a difference already. So also one of the things that I added into it was some form of cardio. So when I was at home, it was just stairs, treadmill, which honestly, I don't really like the treadmill. I think that it was good that I have been not forcing myself to go on a treadmill. You have to find the difference between, is this pushing me or is this something I just don't like and it's going to make this journey extra hard? So that's the treadmill for me. I don't really like it. I think it's so boring. I would rather do stairs and just do that at a slow pace for like 30 minutes. I literally love that so much more. Well, it is a little cold. I wanted to go on walks here, but on Monday, oh my goodness, guys, it was the best weather ever, and that was the first time I actually went on the walk. That's the first time I went outside. Also, the thing that I'm really mad about it is it was a nice day out for the whole day and I woke up at 1. I only got to experience it for like 3 hours because that's when the sun was up, when I decided to like go down, because I worked out before that and then I went outside. I'm like, oh, I wish I just stayed the whole time outside, because it was literally 67 degrees, I'm pretty sure. But the weather hadn't been like that in so long, I'm pretty sure. And then I looked it up and it's not supposed to be that for a long time, for the time that I'm here. And I kid you not, when I was on that river walk, the weather was so nice. I was just listening to my playlist. This is my Chinatown playlist that I've been starting to make, and it was just because that's what I had the vibes of when I first started walking. And it's these, okay, I only have 4 songs on it. As you can see, it was like Distant Lover, Young Hearts Run Free, Never Too Much, On My Soul. Very vibes music, good vibrations music. The river walk, it's a path around the river that you can walk on that's actually underneath the street. So the cars are above you and it's just a straight pathway. There are a bunch of bridges that help you cross. When you're on the Riverwalk and underneath the bridge, you have this opening when you come out of it of just water and buildings. And every single time I was listening to music and just walking out of that path of under the bridge, that I was like, oh my God. On top of that, this is what made it 10 times more amazing, is that it was such a beautiful day out. It was literally the prettiest day I had ever experienced here, I would say. The nicest day I've experienced in a long time, especially because it's been winter. Just something about water. I love water, whether it be ocean, lakes, rivers. I just love everything about water. We have this pond near my house at this community center that I started to like walk around it and jog around it when I started running at the end of last year. And I was like, why do I not take advantage of the fact that there is a small pond here? Because I know that I love water. Even though sometimes it's man-made, it's fine. Any water on a nice day is just so healing and just makes you feel good. And I feel like that really grounded me. It really just made me enjoy where I was at. In my head at that moment, I was like, oh my God, I do not want to leave. I cannot leave here. It is so much better than what I was expecting. And I'm not even saying it in a way that I thought that it was going to be bad. I just didn't know what to expect. I just heard that it is a smaller version, more chill version of New York. I've been wanting to experience just city life, city living, and DC is where I'm from basically. And I feel like that city is so small, or not so small, but it's pretty small. And when I think of city, I think of tall buildings. And in DC, none of the buildings, I learned this in architecture, all of the buildings except for the Washington Monument cannot be taller than the Capitol. It just feels it's not for the younger crowd. I know a lot of people that are in their 20s that live in DC, but for me personally, I feel like it's just a smaller city from what I want at this point in my life. I have been loving it so far. Literally after that walk, I was like, oh my God. Oh, time for me to take my Benadryl. After that walk, I literally was like, okay, I really get it. Because the first couple days, I think it was truly me just getting situated with the whole living in a new city by myself type of thing, trying to figure out my way around and just being very weary of my surroundings and whatever. And then my friend Daniel came, and I think he was able to help me get more comfortable when I was trying to settle in, because I think it really helped knowing that I had someone with me to help familiarize myself. And I'm so glad that happened. I wouldn't want it any other way. But I did only have a day. So I feel like my voice sounds so low right now, but I really only had a day to settle in, get used to the apartment and whatever without him here. One of the main things that I'm really glad that he helped me out with, familiarize myself with the train. So we have a metro in DC and around my house that we will take, but I don't really use it that often. It's not that I don't know how to use it. We don't ever really need to, or we would just drive instead. The only times where we really do use it is when we go out and we're going out in Arlington or DC and we just need a form of transportation without having to buy a really expensive Uber. We started just using the train. He's also really well versed in the train. I think he's in DC all the time, but I feel so much more confident in doing that and using the train, even though that's not something I thought that I would have trouble with. I think it was also just a safety kind of thing too, that I didn't want to look like I was vulnerable or look that I didn't know what I was doing. We tried fufu and agusi for the first time ever. It was so good. And he's that type of person where we can have spiritual conversations, and I feel like he really truly does help my growth as a person, a spiritual person in general. Every single time I'm with him, I feel a lot better about myself, and I literally love him for that. Back to the story. He ended up like leaving early or something, and I had a couple drinks in me, so I was just like, whatever, let's just go on with life. And I had felt confident to be able to take the metro back by myself. And I was with Will, or I wasn't with Will, but I was FaceTiming him, so I felt a lot better. And my phone was actually dying, actively probably at 15% as I was FaceTiming him. I hop on the train I think it was the red line, I'm pretty sure. And I sit down, and then one gentleman comes up to me and starts talking to me. I was just trying to like talk back and just be like, whatever, still talking to Will, but still being a little, I wasn't like hammered, but I was a little, drunk. Then there was another guy that was like, oh, she's not interested in talking, blah, blah, blah. I just didn't know what was going on. I was just like, what? And then they were just starting to argue in front of me and then just yelling at each other. And I was just like, oh my goodness, what did I get myself into? Which kind of happy that it happened that I was drunk, because I know that if I was sober me wouldn't have done that in the first place. Sober me would have been too scared to ride the metro and would have just paid for the Uber. But I had gotten out of the metro and then gotten an Uber. But anyways, it wasn't until like a couple days later where I saw this TikTok, riding the red line by myself at night as a woman, like, good luck. And then all the comments were like, well, just don't do that in the first place, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, oh my goodness. Okay, I don't want to sound like I'm this scared little girl, but I am. I'm from the suburbs. I don't ride the metro. That sounds so privileged to me, but I don't really have to think of situations, public transportation situations. Does that make sense? I'm trying not to sound full of it or whatever. If that were my mom would be like freaked out, because she's just tried to make us super sheltered and not exposed to much, which is why I'm glad it happened when I was drunk, because in the moment I was just like, I can handle it. Like I'll be fine. I feel like also when I do get a little drinks in me, I feel a little more confident, which I guess could be a good or a bad thing. I don't know. This whole first couple days before Daniel got here and going around in the city, I'm just always very like weary. I will look around and see if anyone's following me or if there's any potential of danger, which I guess is a good thing and a bad thing that I am aware, but sometimes I feel like it's very bad to the point. Well, I mean, you can never be too aware. It's better safe than sorry, but then also sometimes I feel like it's a burden instead. Like it actually makes me more anxious and I can't enjoy the moment of anything at all, whether or not I actually am safe or whatever. So I was looking at that and I was like, oh my goodness, could something bad have really happened if I didn't have that guy to like say something to me, or I wasn't on FaceTime with Will? Because I was telling him earlier, I was like, you don't have to FaceTime me. Like, I know you're sleepy, you're busy or whatever. Thank goodness he was staying on the phone with me until I actually got into my apartment, because I just got an Uber after that. And I was like, oh my God, my phone was dying. I think I was at 4% and I was like, oh shit, I can't be on this without Will knowing where I am. So I just called an Uber. Thank goodness the Uber had a charger. He had like a portable charger. And then I think me and Daniel, we went to Andersonville the day after. And that was when I was feeling not good. And that was Daniel's last day. He was actually leaving for the train at 6. And we had gotten out of bed to go to Andersonville, I think at 3 or 4. We were definitely cutting it close. We took the train. And on the way there, it was just so crowded and so packed. I feel like the crowded and packed for Chicago's metro, from what I've seen, especially at that time, it was a Friday at 5. I feel like that was just like the biggest time for people to hop on the train. It felt like DC's train. It felt like it was a chill, definitely a lot of people, but it was more chill. Like you couldn't sit down, but it wasn't like crammed and crazy like I feel like New York would be. I don't know. I don't know too much about New York. I think this is just speculation and things that I've heard. But I did go to New York one time and take the train, and it was nighttime, and it was nice. It was fine. When we hopped on the train, I was just so, and I don't know why, I just don't like the word overstimulated, but I was the definition of overstimulated. When you go out, I'm speaking for post-grad people, because in college we would go out every single night. The thought of doing that is actually crazy. After we drank, we were in bed, we did laundry and whatever, and I was like, oh my God, I just want to stay here. I don't want to leave. I don't want to do anything. But then we ended up going, and I'm grateful I went. I feel like it did teach me a lot of things. It just gave me more exposure to outside so I could find my way around. And I've just been noticing now recently that whenever I go to Target, I'll walk to the Target, I'll walk to Trader Joe's, I'll know where I am. I know how the lights work. And I know that sounds kind of cringe, but like, you know how in the city there are people who will start walking across the street, and I don't know if this is just common sense, but they just make it look so cool. They just start crossing the street before the pedestrian sign flashes on. And it could just be because they see that no cars are coming and whatever. But the idea of knowing which way to look, only having to look one way because it's a one way. I could be sounding super crazy, but I just find the small things like that so fun. I don't want to be sounding a certain way when I'm like, oh, I want to ride the metro, like blah, blah, blah. Like I want to experience a different life. And I'm not meaning that in like a bad way, because I know that a lot of people's daily lives depends on public transportation, and here I am trying to romanticize it, which maybe it is something to romanticize about. I don't know, maybe I sound crazy or whatever, but it was really just enjoying the mundane things that you think of when you think of a person that lives in the city. I just had a newfound confidence of walking around in the city. I feel like before I was just very timid. I was so scared of being looked at like a tourist that I didn't know what I was doing, that I was just like, okay, whatever. Let me just go have fun. And I feel like that's how I've been starting to feel better when I'm just walking around. Because the day that I went on the river walk for the first time, when it was really, really nice, that there was so many people there. Everyone and their mother were walking or running, and I'm glad that that was my first experience of walking the streets. Once again, I bring it back to New York or just any busy big city, that when you walk the streets, especially during work time, it's just super crazy. And I feel like that kind of gave me a little glimpse of that, because there's none of that where I live. I live in the suburbs, and it only is until like we go to DC, but that's not like an everyday occurrence for me. If I want to experience this experience, then I will go to DC. I guess maybe because it's just a different life that I'm just thinking of it as way cooler than it is, because I know some locals will probably be like, oh, this is so boring, blah, blah, blah. But then I also was thinking, as we were walking down to the streets, it's so crazy to me that I romanticize and fantasize like walking the streets, having to walk from work or going to these places, rely on public transportation, when some people's dreams is to have a car, drive around a small town. I get that it probably is less popular, but I know that there are some people who grew up with not that. That sounds like a fun thing. I don't know, because one of the things that I loved also, just like growing up in the suburbs, driving around, I feel like that's such a fun experience to experience with your friends, with the girls just driving around late night, coming from a football game, which got me into the conversation with Daniel of, would you want to raise kids in the city? And don't know, okay, this could be all sensitive topics to everyone, but we were just deep in discussion, and I was just like debating. I would want, because like when I see city kids experiences, I'm like, oh, that's so fun. But I feel like I'm also such a worrier that since there are more people, there are more chances for things to happen, that's the only thing that's keeping me from it. Because I feel like the experience of walking from school to go to this restaurant that's only on this street, you don't have two McDonald's on either side of the like neighborhood that you're in. But yeah, that was an interesting conversation. I want to prepare for tomorrow, and I also want to get a good leg day in. I have been slowly but surely noticing differences in my body. Sometimes I'll look in the mirror and look at my legs, and I'm like, oh, okay. Still trying to lose this fat, but whatever. My friends Lexi, Sophia, Cam, and Jackie are coming tomorrow and Friday, and they're going to be celebrating St. Patrick's Day with me. We are going to a bar crawl, I think, on Saturday. We're going to see some friends from high school because I know they are here. I wanted to just have a fresh, well, not even like I wanted to have a fresh life. I think I just wanted to have a new reality from what my life was at home. Not even like meaning being away from people, but I think I just needed my own thing to establish my adulthood, I guess, because I saw this one thing on Instagram and I thought it was so cool. It was talking about how travel is kind of like a portal, and I believe this so wholeheartedly after I read this. So basically, this is what it says. People change their lives more after travel than after therapy. The data surprised everyone. I don't know what this credentials of for this, but once I was reading it, I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But we could deep dive into it later on. Researchers noticed a strange pattern. Major life shifts often happen not after years of therapy, but after a single strong travel experience. People come back from a trip and suddenly quit jobs and relationships, change cities, or finally start something they postponed for years. A psychologist explained, travel breaks the illusion that your current life is the only possible one. Therapy works with words, travel works with direct experience. And I'm not trying to bash therapy. I mean, I love therapy, was in therapy. I'm not on it now. I remember this thought in my head so vividly, or I guess because it was only a couple days ago, but I remember just being like, so my life at home really isn't my only life. There's so many different versions of me that could be out there, and also just there's so many different lives that can be lived, that my life and the way that I live my life the way that a lot of people around my kind of hometown live their life could be very different if I wanted to change it. And I'm lucky enough that now I have the ability to do what I want to do. When you travel, your brain is forced out of autopilot. New streets, languages, foods, faces, the nervous system can't rely on old scripts. This creates what scientists call a plastic window. Oh my God, I sound so congested. When decisions are rewritten faster, one woman said, after 2 weeks abroad, I realized I was living someone else's life. That realization didn't come from analysis, but from contrast. As I was walking the streets, because one of the things that I was wanting to get better at is just having more confidence in walking, moving around the city, it just made me start paying attention more, focusing on what I was doing, where I was, because at home, since I've lived there my whole life, besides at school, and even then, when I went to school, it started to become so familiar because I was there at that place for that period of time. But it made me realize I have to consciously pay attention to things in order to bring the stuff into my life. I don't know if this makes any sense, but it's been a week and a half. But you know how when you're staying at one place for a long period of time, the first couple days feels so unfamiliar. Like everything just seems so completely new. Like you don't know what to expect. After a couple weeks, maybe even a couple days even, everything just starts to connect in your head. So like, oh, like this connects to this. Like this street goes to here. I don't need to pull out my Google Maps to do that. Because that was how I was when I first went to college. I remember first driving down 81 and seeing all the like campus and seeing whatever, especially even when I was like driving my brother to college because he went to the same school that I did. I remember just like my first view of it when I first got there had such different feelings towards it. It was so unfamiliar. And then there comes a period of time where you know your way around. You don't need a map to recognize something or just really feel, I guess, at home. And I feel like that's what was starting to click with me within the past couple days. When I was going to like Target or Trader Joe's, I literally was like, oh, I know where I am. This building is here. Let me go here if I want to go here. Let me take the scenic route. I'll go over here. I know it connects this way. I thought that was so cool. And I really was just enjoying my experience because of that. These are the last thing I'll talk about and then we'll be done. 3. Travel temporarily removes social roles. At home, you are someone's employee, partner, child, or parent. On the road, those labels weaken. You become just a... Sorry, these allergies are really pissing me off. On the road, those labels weaken. You become just a person moving through space. Therapists note that this loss of identity pressure allows people to hear their real desires for the first time. Not what's expected, but what actually feels alive. I wouldn't know what to say about my interactions with other people because I haven't been with other people besides Daniel. I really heavily relate on when I'm home, I am my parents' child. I am another member in this house and I have different responsibilities. When I'm here, I'm a completely different person. When I'm cooking, like my nervous system is so regulated. I have no stress, especially when after I make a meal, I will let myself sit down and eat it before I start to clean the dishes because that was one of the biggest things is like I would get stressed out when I wouldn't do things right away, even though I knew I was going to do it, but I wanted to like enjoy what I wanted to enjoy first. Number 4. Another factor is risk without catastrophe. Travel adds uncertainty, but in a controlled way. You get lost, miss trains, solve problems, and survive. This quietly restores self-trust. A man shared, I handled things in a foreign country that scared me at home. Everyday fears started looking smaller. Confidence grows, but not from talking about courage, but from using it. And that is so exactly true. I feel a little bit more controlled. Me and Daniel missed the train, got lost with some things, exactly like what it said on here, but we didn't have any pressures of being at certain places or having to do this certain thing because we were just having fun. We were just dilly-dallying. I don't know if that was good, but anyways. Number 5, data shows that insights gained during travel integrate faster. Instead of weekly reflection, the body learns through movement and emotion. That's why decisions made after travel feel irreversible. They are anchored not in logic, but in experience. Therapy explains who you are, travel shows who you could be, and for many people, that glimpse is enough to change everything. And I'm kid you not, it changed my idea about maybe living in a city, maybe living in Chicago. I have so many different eyes open that weren't opened a couple years ago. I was so set on California, or I was so set on living near my parents' house. A lot of the things still are up in the air, but I am leaning closer into certain decisions now, which is funny. One of the things that I'm torn by is still living at home and then experiencing a bunch of different cities that I want to at periods of time like this, or actually living in a city, but I know something just about the city is calling to me. Whatever. But yeah, that is it for that post. But honestly, I've been having so much fun. Will has just been asking me how I've been doing, and I've been telling him it is just so awesome. And every single person who's been asking me if I like it, I'm like, I literally love it here. Other than the fact that the weather was a little bipolar because it started snowing yesterday and today. I don't know if what I have is a cold or allergies, because my nose is very much stuffed and I'm just waiting for this Benadryl to hit. But anyways, yeah, I'm like actually super proud of myself. Thank goodness for Daniel too for helping me, but I'm very proud of myself for just doing this. I feel like to me, it's a no-brainer of living somewhere by myself for a month, but to some people, that's just very different. I remember when I was just bringing it up to people, it sounded like a crazy concept that not everyone has really, I guess, thought to do, which I'm not saying that I'm like some sort of pioneer, but also it's expensive. But if you were to talk to me a couple years ago, I would kind of have the idea of being alone for a little bit, but being in a whole completely different city by myself, I feel like I would have been like 75% not into that versus that 25 into it, which is now turned into 100% into it, 0% out of it. Does that make sense? Like a couple of years ago, myself wouldn't have expected me to be in the position that I'm at, or even just in the mindset that I'm at. I love chit-chatting again. This is my favorite thing to do, and especially just doing it in the city and doing it, having the city behind me. I'm so excited to look back on these videos and just see my experience here. So one more thing. Daniel was telling me that he was like, if I were you, like I'd be vlogging every single day. And I try to vlog every single day. I also don't want to overwork myself and overwhelm myself because I know how I am when I have a bunch of different clips, but I've been trying to just be more conscious, but actually really trying to document every single moment while I'm here, but actually just vlogging every day of those last 2 weeks because I just want to document what I was doing that day of that week that I was in of my life, because I feel like this is such a vital time in my life. My anxiety has gone down a lot more, which I'm very thankful for. I thought my meds weren't working, which sometimes I feel like they're not, but that's because I'm not consistent with them. But also, I think it was just being dropped off in a new city, being dropped on my butt and figuring it out, which, I mean, the post was saying the travel is less pressure, and that's exactly what I'm in right now. But I could sound crazy right now, but this stuffy nose is actually killing me. So I think that will be it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I didn't end up finishing my glass, but I will try to before I go to sleep. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below what video you'd like to see next. Any things that you'd want me to know about Chicago, recommendations of videos that I should do while I'm in Chicago. Don't forget to follow my Instagram and my TikTok. My Instagram is Victoria Diaz and my TikTok is Toy Crackers. I think we're trying to get to 10,000 followers on TikTok and 5K subscribers on YouTube. So that's the goal. Please help me. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!